A massive signing has been made, and thankfully, a transfer saga has come to an end. We need more of that. It felt like as soon as he had signed for Borussia Dortmund, there was already focus on where the hell Erling Haaland would end up next. Which mega minted super club would take the mega talented super striker away from Dortmund so that he could further his glittering goal scoring career closer to the top of the European footballing pyramid, where he's destined to be. How was that last bit? Pretty cringe, wasn't it? That was me channeling a commentator seconds before kickoff of a big match in the Premier League. Still some work on my end. I'm not as flowery as the Drurys, Darks, and Tylers of the world. Nowhere near poetic enough, but anyway, that's just because I'm just Adrian from a YouTube channel called Rabona TV, and welcome. With City announcing the signing of Haaland, the agreement with Dortmund for the signing of Haaland, we'll get to that. It got me thinking about their squad, what he'll bring, and where they are still lacking in some respects. And trust me, prior to signing Haaland, the attack is not where City were hurting the most, but how do you pass up on Erling Haaland when you can afford to sign him at that price? Before you say it, yes, we know that it will cost more than just 60 million. We'll go over that, but it's still a massive, massive positive for City. If you're looking for the lowdown on everything Haaland prior to his time at Borussia Dortmund, then of course we made a video on him while he was still with RB Salzburg. I bought those Haaland stocks early, my friend, relative to most at least. Buy and hold, as they are still continuing to rise. But as for his time at Borussia Dortmund, there are two sides to it. There are the ridiculous amount of goals that he has scored, and there is, of course, the ridiculous amount of time he has spent with the medical staff this season. Now, that could just be symptomatic of a much broader problem at Borussia Dortmund when it comes to their medical staff, which is something that has been mused by plenty of journalists these days with every injury crisis that has hit them. It's basically been one long injury crisis at Borussia Dortmund for some time now. They haven't had everyone all together at one time. Or it could be a bigger problem that Haaland has had to get over, but the fact remains, Haaland missed 3 months of this season total. On top of that, according to these numbers from Transfermarkt, across his close to 2.5 seasons with Borussia Dortmund at this point, he has missed 28 matches. A Bundesliga season alone is 34. Now, friend of the channel, Dr. Raj from 3CB recently made a video that I highly recommend you guys check out, as he gives an expert's take on Haaland's injury. Not a self-proclaimed expert like plenty of people on the internet, an actual licensed and practicing doctor of physical therapy and sports scientists. So go check out his video, as I've linked it below, as there are some calculated risks that City are taking with Haaland regarding his injuries and the likelihood of re-injury in his re-injury cycle, as it's referred to as. But beyond the injuries, let's not put too much emphasis on those, as he clearly passed a medical for City, thanks to Vincent Kompany actually. And there is no red flags. Beyond the injuries, as I was saying, his goal record is sublime. Whenever he comes back from injury, there isn't really any downtime, and he gets right back to scoring goals, scoring so many, in fact, that his record currently sits at 85 goals and 88 appearances across all competitions for the Norwegian android. When you add in his 23 assists, that makes for 108 goal contributions from 88 appearances. For those that like to turn their nose up at the Bundesliga, I know there is a large population who are trying to discredit his goal record as we speak. They're typing it in right now. Well, how about his Champions League record? From 19 appearances, the guy has scored 23 goals. Not too bad, right? He's not one-dimensional as some doubters would have you believe. He can combine with his teammates and contribute in the build-up. He doesn't just stand in the box to tap in rebounds and cutbacks. He can also create opportunities for himself, his shockingly fast speed, fast given his height, of course, and he isn't too bad on the dribble either. Not great, but not bad. Of course, you don't want Haaland running at players with the ball at his feet anyway. You want to bounce passes off of him and have him finishing off attacking movements, of which he's great with both feet. Absolutely needs to continue working on his aerial game. That could be seen as a weakness, as he sort of has Thierry Henry-itis. Scores a lot of goals, just not as many with his head. That is something that he has worked on this season, however, and we got to remember, the guy is 21 years old, only turning 22 in July. He became the youngest player ever to reach 50 Bundesliga goals, while also setting the record for the fewest amount of appearances required to net 50 goals, as it took him just 50 appearances to net 50 goals in the Bundesliga. And so when you consider all of these things, the 60 million euro release clause looks like a steal. Again, detractors will point to how it will cost far, far more than just 60 million, with agent fees, signing on fees, and of course the massive wages, to which City supporters can rightfully point to how it doesn't matter. as no supporter will be personally responsible for paying for the fees. Their mega minted club will cover that with no bother, really. Haaland absolutely provides a ton to Manchester City's attack, and he provides something different. He won't slow down their attack going forward due to his aforementioned speed and how he is capable of combining with teammates in and around the box. He won't drop and be a Kane-esque playmaker, dual threat goal scorer kind of thing, but he offers something different in that he is huge, strong, and good at holding up the ball, which is a profile that City don't really have at the moment. On top of that, you could make an argument that he is a huge fan of the club. We all know his history and how his father represented City. He was even born in the year his father signed for City back in the day. And with the collection of photos of him wearing a City kit at various stages of his life, it's safe to say that, at the very least, he was following their progress closely, perhaps even a big fan of theirs. That's huge for Haaland, and it's huge for City supporters as well. On top of that, journalists like Fabrizio Romano, amongst others actually, have ensured that in his final days, the late Mino Raiola ensured that all of the offers for Haaland were around the same level of wages so that it could strictly be both a footballing decision and a decision of the heart, not just a matter of going where the money was. Let me just start by saying this. Naturally, when City are involved, everyone looks to the negative, and plenty of angles of the negative as well. Yet another big signing for the mega rich club. How can they say it's cheap at 60 million? Are they forgetting about all the agent fees and ridiculous wages? They got fleeced. I mean, the fee alone was paid for by Ferran Torres' sale to Barcelona. People tend to forget that wages and agent fees are involved in literally every other transfer as well, but only brought up for certain clubs. We're looking at a separate issue completely now, though, and I'm not trying to be negative during what should be a very, very happy day for City, just looking at another angle when it comes to their transfers. And no doubt what I talk about isn't lost on City. Of course, when you have the opportunity to sign a player who could be at the very top of the football pyramid for years to come for that kind of price, about 50% of what it costs you to sign Jack Grealish, you simply do not pass that up. Will he add to their attack? Yes, of course. Will he be their only signing of the summer alongside incoming Julian Alvarez? I mean, if I'm a City supporter, I would hope not, as they have a wealth of options in the attack at this point, but clearly need to reinforce other areas of the pitch. That said, while their attack doesn't really need any work, it wasn't really in a bad place, that's for sure, but he could take them way over the top or set new levels, to borrow the words from Jurgen Klopp on the transfer. This is still a great signing, but it's worth looking at other areas of the pitch that will need reinforcement in a big way. For example, their midfield and fullback positions are in a bad place at the moment and are constantly just an injury or so away from causing a massive migraine for Pep Guardiola. With Benjamin Mendy rightfully and thankfully sent far, far away to a gulag thanks to his legal issues, City have effectively used 3 fullbacks for 2 positions all season: Zinchenko, Cancelo, and Walker. An injury to either one of them and you're in hot water. Even if Nathan Ake or John Stones can do a job at either of those positions, you're then cutting into your center back options and you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. You can also rob Peter, this time the Peter being the midfielder Peter, to throw in a 37-year-old Fernandinho into a host of different positions across the pitch that are not ideal for him. But with him leaving at the end of the season, that calls for further reinforcement to the midfield as well. You have Bernardo, Rodri, and Gundogan in there currently as your legitimate starters. And with Pep often playing with Bernardo alongside Rodri, there's 2 of your 3 options already spoken for. Again, an injury to either one of them, hot water. After City losing to Real Madrid, I saw a City blog post, something about how they lost because of a lack of depth. And I'll be honest, I was quick to laugh at that take and call it ridiculous, because anyone who can bring on Raheem Sterling or Mr. 100 million pounds Jack Grealish off of the bench on top of Gundogan, I mean, how many teams in the world can afford to bench players like that? Not many. And I don't think that lack of depth was the reason why they lost. There are many other reasons that you could go as deep as mentality among City players and the magic of Real Madrid. But while I don't find that reason applicable to their loss to Real, sure, it could contribute, of course, but it's not the sole reason. I think that it largely rings true in a general sense for City, and it's partly down to Pep's own preference of having a smaller squad as opposed to a bloated one. Well, bloated in the eyes of Pep, as City have one of the second smallest squads in Europe's top 5 leagues. From a CIES Observatory report, only West Ham have used fewer players, with 27 utilized by Moyes to the 28 that were utilized by Pep toward the end of February. And this was down to his own demise. That was a Freudian slip. This was down to his own design, his own preference, and you have to wonder if he regrets it in some respects. Running that lean of a squad, especially in a country like England where a squad like City's will be subjected to no less than fighting on 4 fronts: the League, League Cup, FA Cup, and Champions League. For this reason, you can understand why Pep likes signing attacking players like Gabriel Jesus, Raheem Sterling, and the incoming Julian Alvarez, all of which can play in any of the front 3 positions, attacking from the wing or centrally. Alvarez adds great depth and talent to the attack, just as Haaland does, and then some, along with the fact that he is destined to be a top player for years to come, and is a relative bargain in comparison to other signings that are being made by other clubs, let alone signings made by City themselves. Grealish. And again, I don't say this to rain on City's parade, because they have truly signed a fantastic player, but it cannot be ignored that they need to strengthen other areas of the pitch far more than they needed to strengthen their attack. They need to strengthen that midfield and the fullbacks if they want to hang with the European elites in the Champions League. Unless he makes City's attack so good that it can make up for their deficiencies or lack of options, world-class options, elsewhere, they can just outscore everyone. So congrats to City fans, and also, if you're a Premier League supporter, you should be excited about this in some way as well, because Haaland is not only a top player that will provide some magical moments, but he is a meme machine. From his celebrations, to his interviews, to what he does with the ball, he is an all-encompassing entertainer, and I can't wait to see him in the Premier League now. That's my take on it though, guys. What do you think? Was this who City needed in order to finally get that Continental Trophy, or are more signings needed? Whatever your opinion may be, I look forward to reading it in the comments. But beyond that, do me a favor and drop a like on this video if you enjoyed the content, or a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe if you're new, and have a great day. I'm Adrian. Take care.